Hello. In the Middle Ages, horses were chiefly traded in general livestock markets, although the 14th century register of Edward the Black Prince, containing details of his estate accounts, mentions specialised horse markets at Chester, Stamford and Smithfield in London. In 1555 and 1558, legislation was enacted aimed at steering horse sales to regulated public fairs as a means of curbing trade in stolen animals. By the 17th century, several dedicated horse fairs had become established. Many towns hosted fairs. This is Wickham Horse Fair in Hampshire, which received a royal charter in 1269 and is still held annually around the 20th of May, featuring traditional wagons and cultural activities as well as horse sales. Fairs were colourful occasions, with large crowds and inns, taverns and shopkeepers enjoying brisk trade. Most peaked in the Victorian era, few survived beyond the mid-20th century, literally overtaken by mechanised transport. Horse Fair often survives as a street name, a reminder of the past, as at Pontefract in West Yorkshire. There are others in Rugeley in Staffordshire, where an annual fair once took place in the first week of June. In Broadmead, Bristol, where a fair featuring horse sales was held near St James Priory in September, annually from 1137 to 1837, and at Kidderminster in Worcestershire, where the horse fair moved in 1690 after outgrowing the town centre, and where it continued to operate until 1820. A statue made from more than 500 horseshoes, unveiled in 2011, celebrates the area's history. A plaque at Ellesmore Green in Ashby-de-la-Zouch in Leicestershire commemorates the horse fairs held there from the Middle Ages until the 18th century. A street known as Horse Fair in Winchcombe in Gloucestershire was renamed North Street after the fair ceased to be held, but evidence of its former use can still be seen in the remaining iron rings where animals were once tethered, attached to some of the houses lining the street. An annual toll-free horse fair held over 5 days in October that began in Burton-on-Trent in Staffordshire in 1771 grew into the largest in the area and operated until 1924. Fairs were lively events, and dealers did not have the best of reputations. Increasing regulation was introduced in the 18th century and toll books were kept recording transactions. Several fairs became noted for a particular specialism. Penkridge Fair in Staffordshire began as a general event. In the 16th century, it grew into a nationally renowned fair for saddle horses, held annually in September into the early 20th century at the marsh on the outskirts of the town, where an area now occupied by a children's playground is known as Horse Fair. Rutherglen in South Lanarkshire in Scotland was noted for draught horses. 4 fairs held annually in the wide main street expanded to 7 fairs by the end of the 17th century and spread into surrounding streets. The last horse fair at Rutherglen was held in 1901. Most important of the fairs held in Wales was in Powys at Llangarmach, which took place in mid-October and dealt mainly in Welsh ponies. Local farmers had common grazing rights on 34,000 acres of upland plateau known as Mynydd Epynt, a Welsh name that is thought to derive from Epona, a Celtic goddess and protector of horses who we mentioned in part 1. If true, it speaks to the length of time horses have been important to this area. Ponies will be rounded up in the weeks before the fair and driven down to the village. In 1940, the common was acquired by the War Office to form part of the Senny Bridge training area, the 3rd largest military training zone in the UK, and horses were ordered off Mount Epynt. The fair ceased a few years later. A horse fair at Horncastle in Lincolnshire grew into the largest in the world. The Great August Fair took place over 3 weeks, attracting dealers from across the country and from continental Europe, possibly with a culinary interest, and the USA. The fair was last held in 1949. From 2023, Horncastle's heritage has been remembered and celebrated by an annual Horse Fair Community Arts Festival. A horse fair at nearby Lincoln, held in the last week of April and which continued until 1952, also used to attract international attention. In Birmingham, fairs held around the Bullring in the city centre were moved to Brick Kiln Lane, afterwards renamed the Horse Fair, on the outskirts as traffic in the centre increased. The last fair here was held in 1912. A mosaic mural on a roundabout at the end of Smallbrook Ringway is a celebratory reminder. Most famous of the fairs still continuing today is the annual horse fair at Appleby in Westmoreland, a market town in Cumbria, held in the second week of June from 1775. The fair began on common land outside the town boundary as New Fair, a general livestock market to compete with an established Whitsuntide fair. That fair ceased in 1885, and its rival, now incorporated within an expanded borough, evolved into a significant Romany and traveller gathering, attracting a large number of visitors. As well as horse sales, various cultural events take place. A popular spectacle is the washing of horses in the River Eden. Next time, postal services and horse-drawn coaches, carriages and cabs. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like and subscribe buttons and click on the notification bell to be informed when the next video is available, or you can subscribe by clicking on the rose window over my shoulder.